Well, I've been in Austin for a while. I'm a musician in town. I play with a band called the Gospel Silvertones, and I'm a veteran. I've done 6 years in the Navy.
Um, Before you went, I'm homeless. To hang out here at the library, use the Wi-Fi, the charging, and the warmth sometimes.
Former nurse, former nurse's aide, former gang member, former prisoner convict, homeless by chance and not by choice, and unemployable because of a terminal illness. It's that's basically me.
I think that's another thing I didn't realize before working here is that, you know, unfortunately, if you're walking by maybe someone experiencing homelessness, it's like, oh, look away, or, you know, there's just these like things that our society does now. It's like, look away or just walk a different direction.
Yeah, the reason why I came to the library, I'm a master's of social work student at Texas State University, and it's basically an internship. We interviewed at a couple of different places, and then it's kind of like you choose which one you want to do. And I was excited about this.
This program is part of the My Library Keeps Me Healthy grant-funded program that started in the Austin Public Library a year ago.
When you look up a resource, it might have something we offer this service and that service and that service to these people, and you think, okay, great, it's okay, here you go. So you write down the number and send them on their way and the address. But I learned that it says, okay, we offer these resources to people. Well, maybe they're only being offered to men, and that wasn't specified in the website. Or maybe they offer those resources to men, and it specifies that, but people have to be in case management in order to receive access to those services. So it's not, there's a little bit of digging where you need to call and verify and make sure, okay, here's this person's full situation, can they be helped or get services with you?
It brings a face to our resources. I mean, I think right now when we deal with the homeless population, the only resource we give them is pamphlets, or we tell them to call 211 and they could provide service. Well, they don't have phones, how are they going to call 211? So what Mary Bell does is she's here to provide a service and provide the resources here, and someone they could talk to, someone they could trust and communicate and know that someone's actually working for them. And I think it puts the library at a different scale of libraries. I think this is where all libraries should be at some point, because we're dealing with a population that we know come to our library. They come to use our libraries for these resources, and what a better thing to do is to have someone here to provide the resource that they really need to get them out of that situation they're in.
Resources, I've been just finding out, like here lately, like that there's a lady that sits up front that could help with resources and stuff like that. And then like one of the head security guards was looking into stuff for us too, on the internet, looking for like shelters and stuff like that. They're very helpful. They're very, very helpful. I mean, they help us out. I mean, we don't have to hang out here. They don't have to let us, but they let us.
Not only is it, well, for a lot of people it has a lot of different meanings. For me, it's not just a safe haven to get out of the until it closes. I'm on Wi-Fi, I'm doing resumes. This is the only way prospective employers can reach me because of the Wi-Fi signal here I can use to call prospective employers and whatever. Knowledge. This is something that should be taken for granted. We're here every day. Why not do something?
What I've seen is people will walk in with all their belongings, 2-3 bags full of clothing, some food, and
Everything.
everything.
That is everything they have.
And sometimes they'll try to come into the library with their blankets, but they're not allowed. And I've seen people leave their belongings outside, but they worry that their belongings will be stolen.
So when somebody is really travels with all of their possessions as a matter of course. For them to, you know, it's kind of essentials that they have. They can't carry everything, so maybe a woman could have a box of tampons or pads that she keeps under the sink in her bathroom. Well, that is just more stuff to carry around. First of all, it's expensive, and second of all, to buy a box that's just more you have to carry around, that's more stuff that may get stolen, and it's just, you know, through this whole process, what I've learned the most is the entry point is not the same for everybody.
There is a strong culture amongst the homeless community here in Austin where they do look out for each other to an extent, even if they're not necessarily friends. Here at the library, if they have a bunch of bags and somebody needs to go outside, whether it's to smoke or do some other errand, they know that they can trust the other people that are here in the library to look over their possessions. That's something that happens all the time, which is a really big issue. Lots of people have bags and it's the only items they have in the world and they have nowhere to put them. So just being able to not carry it on their back even for 10 minutes is a great little small thing that helps them. Similarly, I've noticed if one person has a phone, anybody is kind of allowed to use it. If somebody has a laptop or a smartphone and needs somebody to look something up on the internet, there's just sort of this unspoken code that they have to help each other. I've certainly observed a lot of that.
There's very little places where they can leave that stuff and it be safe. Or if you don't know somebody that, you know, you might can, you know, say, can you hang on to this for a while, or possibly if you can afford a storage unit or something, and the prices on those have been skyrocketing just as much as the rent, you know, then I guess you feel safer carrying all of your stuff where you can see it and stuff. But after a while, that's just, you know, you really can't carry all of your stuff around with you all of the time. And then every time you go in and out of some place, you have to make dozens of trips and stuff. Or like if you're on the bus, then you have to like get on and off and on and off the bus to get all of your stuff on and off. And it's just not practical. And it used to be they had like lockers at the bus stations and at the student union, and the Arch Place there has a few lockers available, but if, you know, you're not using the Arch for the overnight program, then it's not really that much of an advantage. I mean, yeah, you can keep a small amount of things there, but only if you're like staying there overnight does it, you know, really help out. And then I think the best thing to do is to, you know, get your belongings down to as little as possible, or else you have to put them away somewhere else. But trying to carry all of that stuff around, and like I see people with wagons and strollers and dollies that have been like rigged together to carry, you know, bunches of duffel bags and stuff like that, and that's craziness.
I've seen that it only takes a couple weeks to get a mental disability from not sleeping. You can be a very functioning person but have had a crisis that knocks you down, knocks you over, and then you've lost your apartment, and then you lose the car, and now you're losing everything else.
Well, I never realized, like, I thought homeless, like, didn't really mean that much, but, like, they don't sleep, they don't eat, so it affects their mental health, which I never, like, saw beyond that. So that was, like, really something that I learned, and I'm learning to cope with the people that come in here and realize, oh, okay, they're not sleeping well, they're not eating well, so there's probably a lot of stuff that's going on. And me as a human being, I go home and I go to my bed, I get to sleep, and sometimes my arm hurts or my neck hurts, and I'm like, wow, I can't, like, I don't understand how they can just, how they just sleep on the ground in their bodies. And, when we come here to work, sometimes they have the cardboards and they're sleeping in our parking lot with no pillow, no nothing, just on the cardboard. And I'm like, oh my God, I have a bed and I'm sore sometimes. What are they like?
People who don't, have a place are squeezed both ways. I mean, you can buy food without paying sales tax, but you can't store it anywhere. So you really are only going to get as much as you can eat. And then, so yeah, it would behoove a lot of people to reduce the stuff that they have, me included. I got a bag of groceries in my backpack, and that's still too much.
A lot of it is they come here to get out of the inclement weathers. I mean, Austin's, Texas weather is brutal, the heat. When it gets cold, they need somewhere to sleep. They come here to use their computers, and believe it or not, they feel safe here with knowing security is here. They feel they can come in here and be themselves and not have to worry about being robbed. When they're on the street, they're getting, when they're out there in the street, they're getting robbed, they're getting beat a lot of times. So they feel safe being here, knowing that we have, the resource we have. They know we have cameras here, and they know we have security. But they also know that we respect the fact that they're here, and that they know their boundaries, but that they're also part of we provide safety for everybody who comes to our library and security.
There are people that hang out around and they're just looking for homeless people to take advantage of. And, they will just take everything that they have or whatever to maybe find something that, they might be able to pawn or whatever, like a cell phone or a charger or and then, whoever's gotten all of their stuff stolen is, got no way to call anybody, no umbrella to keep them out of the rain, and no change of clothes for the next day. And then, they have to start all over. And this is the repeating cycle that keeps people going back to Salvation Army and the Austin Resource Center for the Homeless is, that kind of petty theft, people's addictions, alcoholism, and so it's unfortunate.
I think, so I've done a couple outreach events with other interns where we walk down to areas like the Arch, which is front steps, kind of where we all know where a lot of people experiencing homelessness congregate in a way, like they're over there. And we were talking about that, how sometimes it feels like society just pushes them in a corner and is like, we don't want to see it, just put it over there. And there obviously is a lot of drug activity going on, and it's out there. And so, we were forced to see it and really, think about it. And we were walking back, and we both were just talking about, obviously drug addiction is a really sad thing, and it's like, why are you doing that? But then when you think about it, that is so sad that someone has to do that to escape from their reality all the time. We talk about K2 and other drugs and that are really big within the homeless community, and I try to come at it as like, this is their escape, and that's how bad it is, and we have to change that. We can't just, be so angry with them that they're using drugs, because really it's to escape this negative reality.
The unfortunate irony with that is a wonderful question, but for every person that you will interview that will have an even keel, there are 5 more people doing something to make you forget that person. It's like an old adage that I was told as a child. When you do good, no one remembers. When you do bad, no one forgets.
People at the library that are not homeless that enter this specific location and see many people that are homeless is always mixed reactions. We certainly encounter people who have a very negative view of it and are not afraid to vocalize it in earshot of everybody. with just complete lack of respect, as if they're subhumans that can't hear them 5 feet away, complaining about them. We also have families that come to this location specifically because there are people that are homeless here, because they want their kids to be aware of this and to know that this is part of our society and to not shelter them from it. And then there's plenty of people in the middle that just come in here and are a little surprised and ask questions and want to do something about it, to ask what they can do to help. And frequently there's policies that prevent me from being totally honest with them. There's people that have like landscape services, for example, that want to offer them jobs, and I can't say, yeah, go ask that guy if he needs work, because it's violates some solicitation policies. But we do see people that want to help the people that are in need.
Someone found my library card and they charged on it, and I really feel self-conscious about that, but I need to find a way to try to pay the bill. I found that out the hard way. I didn't realize I had lost it because I lived here for a while. I'll tell you what, I was in technology, and I would come here and work, but I'd always go back home. But during the process of going back home, I guess I left it someplace and someone picked it up. And the way that you have it there, you just present your library card without an ID, and it could be yours and it could not be yours. And I've heard that happen to other people too. They've misplaced their library cards, but what can I say?
I worked with Community Action Network and the Homeless Task Force and the Homeless Coalition, and sometimes those were all housed people trying to make decisions about how to end homelessness. And it's like, but I was listening to them when I was cutting hair, or I interviewed them on this live TV show, and they said they need this, and it's like completely opposite. So here with the Challenger, I've been trying to strengthen their voice so that they can take that confidence and their voice and go to city meetings and speak up and say, but the homeless people need this. And they call that primary source data. And really, the groups want homeless there, but they don't know how to interact with them. It's, culturally something they're not exposed to. So I've been trying to work with my group to find their voice and then use it to make change in the world.
That's a loaded question. Well, the positive aspects clearly outweigh the negative aspects. A lot of the negative aspect that is associated with the library, in this particular library, it's a clash, it's a social clash. I didn't want to take it to that point, but it is a social clash, and most of the time the library staff is caught right in the middle of it. So that way, and because of that, there's a lot of backlash toward one group of people as opposed to the other. But oftentimes or not, it's just a simple misunderstanding or something. I wouldn't want to lose it. I wouldn't want this. I mean, we're eventually going to move. This library is eventually going to move. But, as far as for every homeless person that you see sitting in a library, sitting in front of a computer screen, there are 3 out of every 10 that are actually doing something, trying to get themselves off of the street and out of their situation. There are another 2 that have the capability but haven't put it all together yet. I like those odds. That's 50%. If we can help half, then maybe that other half, we can find a way to chip into that.
Dental health. There is some clinics here that will help people, and they can walk in. They don't know about that, though. Maybe that would be a good thing to have the literature on the checkout counter there about Cristo de Manas, is it? 2nd Street. You have to kind of go check in first once, but you can go in with a bad tooth, and then the next time they have an appointment, you can go walk in, and they'll see you, and then the next time you come back, and they'll take care of the tooth. So it's a little bit of a process, but we should do more just screenings and dental cleaning and fillings available because otherwise you're pulling the teeth and buying dentures. And teeth health affects your heart. The infection in the mouth will go all the way through the whole body and wear the heart out. So then, you know, we got heart attacks and stuff. So health in general, dental health is real important. Because they'll be walking around with toothaches and they'll be crabby and maybe be short, you know, with their tempers.
For an everyday person coming into the library or interacting with people experiencing homelessness, I would just recommend to be open to the space and don't come into the situation assuming you know everything about that person or the environment. Or I was speaking with someone who said that they've heard people, you know, get angry when coming into the library and, you know, making comments as if people don't exist and they don't have ears and they don't know, you know, they can't hear them. And really, that breaks my heart because I've seen that exact situation happen where someone makes a really negative comment and then, you know, the person that that comment is directed at, they just change, you know. It's like they realize what people think of them, and it just is heartbreaking because their demeanor changes and it's like they shrink inside themselves. And that's why I'd recommend to just be open and remember that, you know, everyone is a human being and your words matter and your facial expressions matter, and, you know, people can sense all of that. So be open and, you know, welcoming and just really understand that, you know, these people are still people and still have real feelings.
I've seen that working with the Challenger newspaper, that we get some new people coming in because they're like, what do? I don't know how to get out of this thing. And they've just realized that they're homeless and they aren't sleeping, and they actually now look homeless, and they've been staying on their sister-in-law's sofa and now that's worn out and they can't stay there and they can't go back home. Their family is like, well, you haven't gotten a job, and so they're just realizing that they're homeless, and it's hard to function. And so if you're just not getting sleep, we need more shelters with beds. We need day sleeping because, you know, we want them to all go get jobs, but if you sit in their shoes and you don't have a clean outfit on and you haven't showered that day, you can't act confident. And somebody's looking at you like, hey, you had that shirt on yesterday. Our social stigmas are so strong, and we just need to have more understanding, that recognizing that if we yell at people or tell them to get a job, that's actually making it worse. It means they're going to have more pain to try to self-medicate.
I think the public perception on this population is really negative, and there's a lot of negative stigmas, and, you know, those just aren't true. You know, stereotypes definitely follow people around, and they definitely know that people are thinking that about them, and that's really unfair, because at a certain point they become that, because they start to believe that about themselves, that, you know, they're drug addicts or they're all crazy, or, you know, I've heard all of these things from friends of mine and family members, and unfortunately I think that is a lot of the public perception, that there's just, it's negative and they just don't want it around them. And as a social worker, I definitely feel the need to always say, like, that isn't true, and, you know, people are going through a lot and you have no idea what it is, the same as people don't know what you're going through. So I would definitely like to see the public perception change. And sometimes I don't know how to tackle that or what to do, but I think it's all about one person at a time and spreading the word. And if you tell someone, maybe they're going to tell the next person, and then that spreads throughout a group of friends or family. So I think it's really important to just change it and snap out of it and say, that isn't true and you have no idea what someone's going through and be aware of that.
I would want it to be more, there's a toss up there. I would want it to be more, not homeless friendly, but more caring and concerned of what the situations that you have. There's a lot of the people that come here, you know, that are on the street for whatever reason. I understand we don't have time to be psychiatrists or psychoanalysts, but if this person acts out and does this, I should not be charged with it. I should not be treated accordingly because of this person, and that does happen a lot. If I could change anything else or want it to be anything else, I would want more volunteer programs that we can get into, people can get into, that they know about. You know, you have the writing program upstairs that meets here, but it's tucked off in a little room. You know, if you don't make the announcement, nobody knows. You know, I would like some programs that would be, you know, maybe not here. I know there's several other libraries, but programs that, you know, we can either help and be a part of the solution, or we can sit back and do this and be just a bigger part of the problem. I'd like to see the library step up and be a part of community activism, helping the community like it's supposed to.
On my first day here, one of the other interns had me, like, you know, we stand up from our table and we greet them and we say good morning and look them in the eye and really engage them. And that, I think about that every day, because really when you look at them, that changes them as well. Like, saying something negative changes them, and saying something positive changes them in a whole nother way. It's like they stand like taller and they smile. They definitely love to hear you say good morning. Like, that means a lot to them, and that's the easiest thing in the world, you know. I do that to my dog, to my mom. So saying hi or smiling or just anything, that can really change a person and get their spirit going. And if you think that your community, you know, sees you and wants you to succeed, you probably will be in a better place to do that, you know. If you're constantly feeling this negative energy from people, you don't want to, you know, put yourself in a place of trying to get out of it. You're just feeling that negative energy. But with smiling and engaging with someone, that can really change a person's day, you know, or how they go about, you know, getting out of this tough situation. So it has a huge impact.
I think having social workers at the library improves lives, because people come into the library to find information. And as social work students, we're able to provide some information, and hopefully they can leave happy and satisfied.
People on a repeated basis say, I'm so glad you guys are doing this. And I'm like, oh, it was my idea, but I'm happy to be here doing it. But it's just such a great idea, and it is a real need. I'm sure you've experienced that too.
Yeah.
There was one situation, a man that had come in and he had an alcohol problem, had been on the streets, had hit rock bottom, and just said, I just want off the streets. I'm willing to do whatever it takes. Well, I knew of a place that was a halfway house who took people off the streets with addiction problems who were willing to go through their program. It was a religious program. I knew this gentleman, and I felt pretty good about what he was doing. It was thorough. They really made an investment in these people, but it was a year-long program. And I really wasn't sure if they even had any spots, because, again, there are just so few resources. So I called him And, you know, I kind of begged and pleaded, and it just so happened that he said, well, there is one room, you know, that room needs some construction, but, you know, there is a waiting list, but based on what you're telling me, I'm willing to give him a chance. So I sat down and talked to the man. He was there at the library every day, and I explained to him, this is the kind of program this is. I know this man, he's wonderful, but you've got to be willing to make a commitment. And he was. So I sent him to the halfway house, which fortunately was not very far, and hoped for the best. A couple weeks later, it was election time, and the libraries are frequently used as polling places. And the librarian there called me, and she said, you would not believe this. This man came in, clear-eyed, clear-headed, and voted for the first time in his life. So that goes up with the top 10.
So as an intern, I had to do a project, some type of project that filled the gap of my agency, or within my agency, either one that was presented to me or one that I saw and then, you know, could see a solution with. So being downstairs and doing the health screenings and the social work screenings, I really kind of saw that, yes, I'm doing a lot and referring people to services, but sometimes I can't do anything to help, and I'm really just sending people off to get help themselves when sometimes they can't. So myself and the other interns kind of realized that bringing the help to them would be a game changer. At least I really truly feel that way. And so I held the resource fair, and I got different agencies around Austin to come in and work with the library, and just tried to get a holistic view of resources. So I had the Arch, Integral Care, which, you know, they do a lot with mental illness and, you know, even job preparation, all of these things. So the fair really was just, I was trying to offer a holistic view of resources to the homeless community so that, you know, they didn't have to go far. They're already here in the library, and they do want resources. They're always asking about resources like food and clothing and housing. And I thought, what a great way to get them the resources and to bring them right where they're at. So with the fair, it was an awesome turnout. I was like, this was like my baby. So it was so awesome to see a line of people and all of the agencies that, you know, agreed to come in. It was just amazing to see them all there, and the energy in the room was so awesome. And it just, like, I felt like I was beaming because I was so happy. Like, just to have all these people there who had one goal, and that was really just to help. And the patrons were so grateful. Like, each one of them personally thanked me and just said, like, you know, and that's another thing, is that just having them thank me, that's so much. They're going out of their way to let me know that this really helped me. Like, thank you so much. And that's another thing, is like, we saw them and we saw what they needed, and they need more of it, and it can't stop with the fair. You know, it really should be expanded, and, or at least I hope it can be expanded, and that more fairs happen. But other agencies also, the agencies that were there were asking me, like, when's the next fair? Or, you know, when can we do this again? I really hope there's more. A lot of the surveys I got back, they always said thank you, and then they said, like, we really hope this happens again. And everything helps and things like that. And I just felt like the fair really, you know, did its job by truly helping people and educating people on the services. And I think it's awesome that the library agreed to do it, because it shows, like, I think it's awesome that the library agreed to do it because it showed that we really do care about helping everyone. You know, it's not just about getting on the computer or reading books or things like that. we really want the community to be healthy and to have everything they need. So I was just, as a Texas State representative and being in the library, I was so proud of the agency that I had been working with, just that they were happy to help and they never said no, and I thought it was awesome.
Oh, heck, I can go back simple last week. I'm from Philadelphia, and I lost track with all of my family pretty much. I have a wife in Killeen. I have children that are grown that I have not been able to contact. A friend, one of my mutual friends here decided to say, well, look, just put it on Facebook. Here, you got the computer right here. Well, all of a sudden now I'm able to reach out, and I just got off a conference call with my 2 sons prior to coming to do this interview. This would not be possible if I wasn't here. So for that alone, I would be grateful.
So I came up with the idea to get bus passes for the fair because I've been asked countless times, hey, where can I get bus passes? Do you know where, like, how I can get a bus pass? I really need it for my job interview or to get to the side of town for, you know, a food pantry. And so that was definitely on my mind, like, already, like, oh man, these people really need bus passes. Like, we have to get them because that's a huge factor in getting resources too. So I reached out to Capital Metro and asked them to donate bus passes for the fair to bring in people as kind of an incentive to come, because I know it's hard to plan your day, you know, in an awkward 2 to 4 block, just kind of, it's hard to plan your day around like a resource fair. So I figured having some sort of incentive would bring people in. So I got 16 bus passes and a couple of bus passes from the Arch. So in total we had 18, and I think they went within like 10 minutes, like they were gone. So just having the bus passes really meant a lot to people, and some people just heard that we were having them and they came just for that. And that seemed like the resource fair worked, even if they just got a bus pass, because that's really what people need is, you know, a way to get to things. And also I felt like that's kind of, that makes people feel normal too. If you can get on public transportation, you know, if you're not able to access public transportation, then what are you able to get? Like, so I thought that was just a really great way to bring people in and to show people also, like, we hear you, we see what you need, we're trying, and people were really grateful for them. So
last summer in 2015, the Austin Public Library partnered with the Challenger Street newspaper for a series of writing workshops. We had 2 at the Terrazas branch and 2 at the Central Library.
So we're the Challenger newspaper, and we've grown slowly. We kind of had to get recognized as a paper again because the police forgot that there was a street paper.
I became acquainted with the Challenger through your writers' workshop at the Falk Library. It's been 1.5 years since I've been writing for the Challenger, and I enjoy it. It gives me a chance to say things that I really do honestly feel need to be said. And I appreciate the Challenger and the library for letting me do that.
The first independent study I did at the School of Information concerning homelessness was with working with the Challenger Street newspaper group. I was granted access to their full archive from the past 6 years now, and read every single issue and was looking for various information needs of homelessness, and kind of did a data analysis based on the content in the paper. And in the process of that, I really was able to learn a lot more about the people that write the paper, who are citizens of Austin today that I encounter all the time here at the library. So that was really interesting, and I'm currently able to reference things that people wrote 6 years ago when I see them in the library.
Yes, we were invited to do writing workshops at the library, and we worked with 2 libraries that were central here to where the biggest population of homeless are, and I was completely honored to be invited to do so and put together like some course curriculum of broad idea. So we could promote the Challenger newspaper and if they wanted to get a job, but it was more so how to be empowered by writing.
Well, you see, that's the thing about the Challenger. I have my pet peeves. There are other people that have theirs. The Challenger allows people to get their ideas out. Right now, it's a small newspaper. I think we average maybe 800 editions a month. Since I did not come in on the ground floor of the Challenger, I can only speak for what has happened since I've been there. We're growing. And as we get notoriety and recognition, we hope to grow and let people sound off without being afraid to say what they have to say, without feeling oppressed or looking over their shoulder or feeling like something's going to happen to them. That I really like about the Challenger.
Yeah. We've had Marcellus come to us, and he was there at, I think, the second workshop we did at the main library. Excuse me. And Marcellus has been writing almost every month since then. And I think he really feels like he gets heard, and he gets validated that he's a human being. And he got an apartment. Maybe he was on the road to doing that already, but I think building one's self-esteem lets you present yourself better on a day-to-day basis, whether you're at a bank teller or checking out a book at the library or purchasing something at the store. Just that you come up holding your chest up a little bit rather than cowering and looking down like I'm just guilty because I'm homeless. It's like we all have our position in life and we can be moving and in process of changing. So it's been good to see Marcellus grow as a person and to speak up to our group and say what he thinks. He's a veteran, and it's important that we be paying attention to the veteran aspects of homelessness. And what does that mean to our paper to make sure we're covering all the topics that we can?
Yes, certainly since this branch has made an effort to offer more programs to our customers that are homeless, there has been a much stronger relationship between staff and customer at this location. It's generally much less tense, and we know most of our customers by name, and we have a really positive relationship with them. When there is a problem, we can just address it pretty quickly and without incident, just by addressing the customer by name and just saying, hey, this, you're not supposed to be doing this. And it's a lot easier than in the past where there was just a lot of tension between staff and customer and resentment. I think just by being much more inclusive has really improved the relationship between customer and staff. And there's been a significant decrease in serious incidents here.
And I was so ready to help the library serve these folks because it's such a safe place for them, and they're working. They might be playing games once in a while, but who doesn't need to unwind for a little while after they've filled out like a job application? And you're like, oh my God, I sent it in. I wonder if I'm going to get the job, and I can go play a little game just to unwind from that. And all the books they can use and the publications. And I just think it's very wise then to serve them because they keep them more normalized. They don't have to look like homeless people. They can be looking like students and looking like they're people just in process of furthering their information.
It's easy for me to get on my phone and look up the number to a doctor, and then I go to the doctor and I give him my insurance card, and then I get the health care I need. I call and make an appointment. Well, if you don't have a phone to research a doctor, you don't have insurance, you don't have a car to go to the appointment. So for somebody experiencing homelessness to visit the doctor, it's a completely different experience than for me to go visit the doctor. And it's that same kind of process, phenomenon on every single level, where even if somebody if somebody's having a health emergency outside, and 911, the ambulance shows up, well, they can't take all of their possessions with them in the ambulance, so they have a choice. Do I get health care or that I need, or do I and give up all my things, or do I kind of hang in there and just get through it and keep all my things?
I even got my health checked here. They have certain days in the city of Austin, they have people come in here, do check your blood pressure, cholesterol, whatever, So this is a good place to be,
Yes, because if you want to cover as many bases as you possibly can, you have to have as many outlets to do it. Concentrating all your apples in one basket, it's not going to cover a lot of people. There are a lot of people out there on the street corner, but they all have their own story for how they got there and how to get away from it. Making it all just one big basket for one big reason, it's not going to work. So yeah, you need to have as many outlets as you can for people.
Oh yes, because at the time that I done it, actually it probably saved me a trip to the hospital or something, because I found out my blood pressure was up a little bit, and so after they told me that, well then I went and checked and went to my doctor, and told him that hey, someone took my blood pressure at the library, and he said the library. I said yeah, and they said it was a little up, and so I ended up getting a physical. I was okay, but it was cool that that was available here to for things like that to happen. There's a lot of resources here.
Yeah, certainly the Thursday matinee program does provide a sense of community at the movie screenings. Frequently, our regular attendees have fun with each other, they laugh. There's one individual who kind of likes to make wisecracks throughout the screenings, and usually the other people here laugh with him if he's not annoying anybody. And it's a way for them to talk freely and at a volume in our meeting room where they can't out at the public area where people are reading. So programming events at the library does provide the opportunity for people to socialize more and not just put their face in a book and be quiet.
I think that they're nice, I mean, just like today, Thursday, come in, catch a movie, and that's great, There's, you can't ask for any more than that. I look forward to the Thursday movies, I get to sit back and just, be with a crowd of people, or, whatever, however amount of people that are in here, we're all in here and we're enjoying a good movie, just lay back, kick back, I mean, it kind of beats just sitting back with putting some headphones on and sitting at the computer, but that's okay too. That's a great thing to have available also, you can throw in a DVD right here at the computer, instead of like, if I didn't want to check one out and take it home, I've looked at several here,
One of the bigger successes of the Thursday matinee program at the Tarasas branch is that it's really improved relationship between customer and staff here. This is something I've read about in my research on this issue at school, is just by being more inclusive and having a better relationship with some people, those few people will be much more inclined to alert staff of other actual real problems that need to be addressed. But even more than that, some of our regular attendees have taken the initiative to keep the library a lot cleaner. It's not something we ask them to do, but they just want to make this space available to them, so they're making sure that there aren't any complaints about the dirtiness of the location. So a few people have gone above and beyond and clean up our parking lot. It's not something we ask them to do, it's not something we encourage them to do, but they just kind of do it on their own just to make sure that they don't run into any problems from other staff or police or anyone else complaining about disarray of the library?
Well, just basically the ones that I named, you know, being a bit checking out books, DVDs, CDs, use access to the computers. There's always somebody here. I mean, well, there usually somebody here. I mean, you can count on somebody being here every week that's going to be coming up with something that you probably weren't aware of or you probably need to use, because they have the what do they call it, the Austin resource things, you know, in case, you know, whatever, if it from a guy like me probably need to find a way to get in contact with AARP to whatever, you know, they have just resources, pantries, homeless resources. They got all kind of things that, you know, people come through here, you know, and they have it available for you, you know, and if they don't have it right then and there, they will tell you when they will be here.
Homelessness is not a homogenous group, so every person that is homeless has different interests and different needs. So it's hard to provide a universal program that appeals to everybody that is homeless. We've asked a lot of our customers what they would like to see. Some people have vocalized book clubs, others have liked the movies, some want literacy programs. So it's really varied, and it's hard to meet the need of everybody. But the movie and coffee program is really successful because it's easy and comfortable, and it's easy on staff. It does not cost much money, and it does provide a little social aspect to the customers, as well as provide entertainment and a couple of hours where they don't have to worry about anything else.
Some of the things that I have dealt with in the past while I've been here are a story, for instance, about a homeless vet. This was a man that I was asked to see because he had been frequenting the library for a long time, and he always wanted to find who his caseworker was. He would ask all the time, who's my caseworker, my VA caseworker? I don't know where they are. And the librarians just weren't sure how to help him because he didn't know her name or anything else about her. And so I sat down and talked to him, and I said, okay, so you're looking for your caseworker. Can you tell me her name? No. When was the last time you saw her? I think it's been a year. Okay. Can you tell me anything about her? I think she had twins, and that's it. Yes. And I'm like, okay. So I start with the main VA line, and I explained who I was and that I was looking for a caseworker with twins. And to her credit, she did not laugh. She connected me with another number. Once again, I explained the situation, and that person suggested yet another number that was more of a homeless resource number. And so I called the woman and once again explained that I was looking for a caseworker with twins. And she paused a moment and she looked over her shoulder and said, Rhonda, who's that caseworker with the twins? And she gave me a name, and I asked the gentleman, could it possibly be this person? Yes, that was the person. So I now had a contact person, and I was finally able to reach her. I explained who I was, what the situation was, who this gentleman was, and lo and behold, she had been looking for him. She said, you know, he just fell off the radar about 9 months ago. I was reviewing all my cases, and, you know, I have some help for him, but I did not know where he was. So I was able to connect the two, and this homeless gentleman was so thrilled. And so that was a win. Now, that was also primarily due to luck and just cold calling. Sometimes it just takes a little patience, and it's just not something the librarians can do.
I think library programs for people that are homeless not just offer them something to do with their day in an engaging way, but more than anything, it helps them feel included and be part of our community. And that is more important than the specifics of the program, whether it's a movie or a writing workshop or anything else. Just the act of being included as part of the community at the library is really important to them. And here at this location, we've offered a variety of programs and events, and they're not always, the customers don't always take advantage of them, but just the fact that they're invited to them makes them feel a lot more comfortable in our branch.
So the Art of Serenity is something that the interns have created, and it's basically just a therapeutic art class, mainly for adults, just to relax. And we play, you know, very serene music and give tea and coffee and just little snacks, which is huge to them, just to be able to come and get something that they all say, like, can we have coffee? You know, that's like huge to them. So they come for the art, and then we do watercolors and regular color pencils. We provide all of it. We provide the coloring sheets. We have scratch paper for them to do their own art, and it's really incredible. Last week, there was over 25 people there. There was just so many people from different walks of life there. There was children there. There was older adults there. Definitely a bunch of different cultures there, and it was in a tight space, and like I said, there was 25 people, so you had to sit like elbow to elbow with your neighbor, and no one was, you know, felt awkward or uncomfortable. That was definitely something that, like, I noticed, and I caught myself smiling at two people coloring, because it was an older lady, and then I think it was with a young girl, and they were just coloring, talking about watercoloring and both of their separate experiences with it. And they're really different. And then there was teenage girls, and then like an older couple there. So it just brings a lot of different people in, and they all love it. And people ask, like, how long has this been going on? Like, we love this class. I have a lot of regulars. So it's just really a place for them to go and have some therapeutic, you know, time to color.
So my personal experiences are, if I see somebody in the parking lot coming in or out of the branch, is when people really open up. Even when people that are homeless do report problems to staff, they're usually pretty discreet about it because they don't want everyone else to see them reporting it. And trust is such a big issue with homelessness, and it's really hard to build that trust, especially when you're enforcing policies and telling them, no, you can't do this every day. I mean, I recently asked somebody where he sleeps at night, and it's somebody that I've known for over 2 years, that I've seen every day, and only after 2 years did I feel comfortable asking him that question. And I did ask him that outside in the library parking lot, not inside the building. We were just talking about an incident that had happened overnight, and then I asked him that. I live in this neighborhood, so, and I ride my bike often. So my bike ride to and from work, I see many of the customers at this library throughout the neighborhood, and there's at least half a dozen of the people that are homeless that use this library where I do know where they sleep every night, and it's hard to not care about them when it's cold and rainy, and I know exactly where they are, and it's not always a dry spot.
It's so true. Like, that's not a lie at all. Like, I really was like, oh my God, like, that family is just intertwining with, like, you know, people experiencing homelessness, and they don't care at all. So, which is cool to see, like, these stigmas not getting in the way of interaction.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, that time when I came in and seen the nurse that was here, you know, that was a good one there, you know. So I got to read and get my health checked all in the same day.
Well, if anything, just more services. Hope that we can get funding to continue these kinds of services in the library. When you talk about social workers in the library, people are like, what? But we have found it's an answer to the community so often this is where homeless people come because there's nowhere else to go. And so this is the library responding to the community and saying, how can we help you? But again, as with most social services, funding is limited, and what I would like to see is just more availability. Wouldn't it be great if we had a resource person who was at each library all through the week? I'm kind of at 3 different libraries, but to just broaden what we have to reach more people.
I was a server for 4 years, so I'm used to being like, do you want coffee or whatever? And people are like mainly the homeless people, but they say like, no, like, or I can get it, or no. And I'm like, no, like, I can make it for you. I can put, sugar and creamer. And that, I always see a difference in them too. Like, she's making it, she's getting it. Like, someone's actually giving me something and wants me to have it. Like, I know Michael too is like, are you sure you don't want cookies? Are you sure you don't want it? Like, you can totally take it. So it is a rich experience, and it feels great to be at like the center of it and watch it literally from the center. So I definitely like the art class.
Yes, yeah. The health people. Yeah, I've talked with her, and I said she gave me some information on a couple of things that I really needed to get in touch with to some referrals. She's given me referrals to a couple of places that I'd inquired about. She was a good contact person, and so now that saved me a lot of time or effort of looking around. It was right there. She had it right there. Went in her computer and said, "Mr. Stevens, these are the people you want to see," and that was good.
When I think of the library, I'm sorry, I don't feel good. As I was trying to get somebody else to do it, but just a place to go where I can read and learn more than I thought I knew.
The library is a great place to come to. I get to do a lot of things as far as other than a place to just come and have some nice peaceful time and gain a little knowledge on some reading and stuff. But it's a good place to come to as far as for what I do. I like the access to the computers and everything, because there are things that I don't have on my personal computer that I'm able to do here. And I find that you get 2 hours here, and I'm able to accomplish what I need to do, from even if it's just burning my group's CDs, or downloading others music that I have on Dropbox and stuff. I'm able to do that here, and I pick up a lot of pointers and stuff from. There's a lot of other people that I network with that comes here, and the staff is excellent. They're always willing to take care of, look up something for you or show you, exactly where it may be, and it's just a really nice, friendly environment, almost like a family in here, because I'm here regularly.
Yeah, I definitely think that's how you feel a part of something, part of a community. If there's a service for you that anyone can access, and you're one of the people who it's for anyone. Being a part of seeing like a family come and a couple come, and then you're here with them, and it makes you feel a part of it, and like you belong there. And I definitely think it's really enriching for them. I don't want to make judgments about how they feel, but I feel like it nourishes that part of you of feeling like you're a part of something. Like it just, even for me, I'm like, this is my community. These are the people that I live around. They're like my neighbors, essentially. So we definitely hope that's what it does, is bring normalcy to them and just always be open and, giving and welcoming. So I hope that's what it does.
And the mayor says he's going to do something about it this year, which means that they'll have some kind of commission or something like that review the situation, but they're not able to really do that much at the city level. And I've tried to talk to them about this before, when like Echo has their meetings and stuff like that, and say that they need to get other organizations involved, you know, the state to put up some money and the you know, county to designate some areas or whatever where it's okay to do camping and that sort of thing that are not, you know, out at Pedernales or someplace like that, you know. And they keep trying to handle it through these different nonprofits, Caritas and Front Steps and here, and that's not very effective. I mean, yes, some people are finally getting their housing after having to endure the nightmare of staying at these places and stuff for a while, and but a lot of people are, you know, eventually just have to move on because they can't find a place here, and that's what the raising rent has done, is put the squeeze on more people, and so more people are becoming homeless at the same time as they're finally coming out with some place for them, you know, like the Community First or whatever is already filled up with the veterans that Mayor Adler wanted to make a show of putting them up. And you know, that's good and everything, but there were other people that had been waiting for housing that weren't veterans that were excluded from that, and I don't think that's right. And I think that they would probably be better suited in finding some type of camp kind of situation where they could keep more people and there would be more space for people's stuff, and it wouldn't be like right in the central city and stuff.
My second independent study concerning homelessness in the library focused on library policies, specifically code of conduct policies. I analyzed the code of conduct policies from the 100 most populated cities in the country, their libraries, and was looking for policies that have been identified that discriminate against people that are homeless. But more specifically, I was looking at language of the policies that include stereotypes that perpetuate marginalization and stigmatization of this group.
The library has been pretty good about trying to accommodate, you know, the homeless population at the central library and stuff, but I don't think that's gonna linger in the next iteration of the central library down on Cesar Chavez. No, and you know, I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe they have more space, and you know, it could be able to absorb that. But at the same time, the homeless population is growing, and then, you know, it's gotten to where at any time you can go into the library and you'll have to wait to use a computer or something because they're occupado all the time. But it doesn't take long to check email and stuff, so.
That is a complicated issue for a lot of reasons. Many people that are homeless do not identify themselves as being homeless. If they have a car and they sleep in their car, they might not identify themselves as homeless, or they have a somewhat stable temporary place to stay, whether it's an abandoned building or a friend's couch. They won't identify themselves as homeless. I don't think there's a better word for it, even though there is so much stigma attached to that word. But that's a real complicated topic.
Well, I like how the Trinity Center here phrases, they call them the neighbors. They live here downtown, they're our neighbors, as opposed to labeling them with a description, like patrons or customers or clients. It's like a friendship kind of word to call them a neighbor. And in fact, one of the women out on the street I was neighbors with, she raised her son, and we were neighbors for 9 years, and then she became homeless. And I really like calling her neighbor because we were neighbors. Just speaking with, so I'm hearing conversation about cultural competency And in these times, it's an important thing that we don't be afraid of things that are new. And so what I've done working with street people is just not have an opinion. Leave my thought process completely open so I can let them have a platform to describe what they need or what they want or how they want to say it, and not be shocked by it, and just understand that they're telling the truth there. Oh, they might be joking, but you could tell if they're joking. Yeah, I'd like a new Cadillac. I'd like to have a pizza party every week. You know, that's joking around. But if you need a car, that might be accurate, that they need a car, but it doesn't have to be a Cadillac.
But I think if we do it as a whole, we become successful. I know with the libraries, we do things that seem small. I mean, like I said, we start with our social worker. We have some libraries that have movie times and doing other fun stuff to engage those who are homeless and invite them to feel wanted and comfortable coming into our library. I think that's a great thing. That's starting small, but that's at least we're making an effort. I think that's a good thing. And I think if every city facility does that and does something small, I mean, this could become something big.
I think the libraries have been doing a good job. I have seen that this past summer y'all added a caseworker to just kind of be available on certain hours, that it's away from the shelter system. It's maybe a little more anonymous. It's just a different, safer environment maybe to get a homeless person initiated into the service programs. And the health screenings is really good because that's so way behind for homeless people. They aren't allowed, there's clinics, but if you got to wait a long time or they might be mistreated there, they have to wait until a problem gets really bad, and then it costs a lot of money to replace a limb. So it's like, why can't we let them go to more clinics and do prevention? That's being fiscally responsible. It sounds like you're giving them free health care, but it's like, that's where the moral bankruptcy comes in. It's like, we have to get past this thinking that they have to quit drinking and get a job first before we help them, because they're in a fur-lined mousetrap and they can't get out. They're stuck. And until somebody gives them a hand up and helps them, because it's human nature for us to pick ourselves up and stand up and walk back into society if we have the tools. So the library is just full of tools. The library has all the resources, all the books. So I'm excited about any programs that y'all add. And I've been able to tell from my visiting, I go to the libraries more now. Homer the Homeless Goose, who we're the roadies for, traveling him around to educate.
Well, certainly, I'd say our society's current approach to addressing homelessness is to view it from the perspective as a security issue. And I believe with groups like HOST here in Austin, the police department has recognized that the previous approach isn't working. It's just a revolving door between jail and prison and the emergency room, and all of those have been proven to be more expensive than just providing them housing, which of course is fundamentally the solution to homelessness, is a house, which is what Salt Lake City has chosen to do, and that has proven successful so far. I know the city of Portland just recently allowed designated areas for people to camp. Personally, my personal opinion is I think that's at least a small first step, and even though it might look like a shanty town, the reality is that's part of our society, and by just shuffling them around, pretending like they don't exist, and waking them up in the night and telling them to go somewhere else, even though they have nowhere else to go, is not the solution. And as the population increases, that's going to become a lot more apparent that there's nowhere else to go. So housing first is certainly, in my opinion, the best and most appropriate thing we need to do. Of course, one of the big stereotypes of people that are homeless is that they're mentally ill. And some research is indicating that just as many people become mentally ill after becoming homeless, which I think is pretty easy to understand. I know that I'd probably go crazy pretty fast if I was living on the street and everybody was treating me poorly. But there aren't that many mental health resources, not just in Austin, but anywhere in our society. In the late 70s, we deinstitutionalized a lot of our psychiatric hospitals and provided no outpatient care. And that's, really the beginning of the visibility of homelessness on our streets, and specifically people that are crazy.
I've seen a lot of success stories that came directly from this program. There was, like I said, there was one person that over the course of seeing him 3 or 4 different times, we were able to successfully consummate him getting his SNAP food benefits card. There was somebody that, to my surprise one day, said, "Oh yeah, man, I'm moving into my apartment and later today." And this was at a health screening event. And I was like, "What? This is just a month ago that I saw you." And there's a process. So you somebody will go through one of 3 means. They'll do what's called a coordinated assessment. At the time, they do a needs assessment, find out where they are, and then what services they need, and then if they need housing, they'll get in line for housing or whatever. So this guy, it was just over a month, was moving into an apartment already. This is a huge deal in somebody's life to have some housing security. And I said, "How did you do that so fast?" Like, that's pretty fast. And to get set up with an apartment, he said, "I just did everything that you told me to, and I just followed up diligently on everything. If they wanted me to do X, I did X. If they want me to do Y, I did Y." So to see that, and then one thing also is just whether there's an immediate, tangible, something benefit in hand, or just somebody participating in life, getting more engaged in life. Because, I personally have been in a place where it was hard for me to engage in life. I was really, couldn't even stand to open up my computer. It's just over it. So in little bit by little bit, you might do something where you're participating in life a little bit more and more. You're investing in yourself a little bit more and more. And that's what happens. People will come in, they'll ask something, well, they need to take further action, and then, do next steps, do follow up. And people to see them come back, and they're investing in their lives to better themselves. And that expands outward. So they might, first they just wanted, SNAP benefits. Next thing, okay, well, I need a phone too. Well, if I get a phone, then I can apply to jobs and follow up on jobs. So there's SafeLink Wireless. So maybe we could get, help them apply for and get a phone. So somebody got a phone. I mean, there's a lot of examples of tangible benefit. But one of the big benefits is just reinvesting in people's lives, in their own lives, rather.
One example I have, I helped a man several times over a month, and he'd approach me and ask if I could help find clothing pantry and a food bank. And the last time I saw him, he said he needed to find rehab because he drinks. And I made a phone call. I did some research. I made a phone call, and the organization came to the library, met us at the library, and we talked about the organization a little bit, and they stepped out and they saw them pray together, and he just went with the organization, and they did in-house in-house treatment, and it was powerful to see.
That's awesome, and that's another thing. So you hadn't told me that before, and that's amazing. But it made me think. Think of all the things that we don't see.
Right.
Like we might send somebody off on write a resource down, send them on their way. You don't know what ends up happening all the time. So what are all these effects that we don't see? Because there are a lot that we do see. So think about how many more that we don't see.
Sometimes there are concerns. People have asked, well, is our library becoming a homeless shelter? And my answer is absolutely not. We are responding to people who are already here, actually in an effort to find other places and to find resources for them. And the homeless are part of our community, and the library is here to answer the needs of the community, to serve the community. And again, it is not only homeless people who benefit from this program. I answer questions all the time about, how can I find information about this medication? Where can I research treatment for this disease process? And again, I have friends who are looking for something to help with the elderly, or is there free legal aid? I have a cousin, whatever. But no, we are meeting the needs of people who are already here. And I certainly haven't noticed a big influx of new people. And the point of the program is to help them find other places to go, homeless shelters, or places how to get homes and not be homeless and get the resources they need. But again, the other side of that story is the point of the program is also not to push them out. Everyone is welcome at the library.
Because I was like, gosh, what are they doing here? Like, they're doing absolutely nothing. But I realized, like, that's not right, because we have plenty of books, and they love to come in here and just read. Like, every day we pick up piles of books from where they're sitting down reading, which it's their library too, and not just ours. So that made me realize that's good. They should come in and enjoy our libraries, because there's like many libraries that they can enjoy here in Austin.
I find people will return to My Library Keeps Me Healthy events, and they'll bring their friends and let them know that we've helped them, and we offer to help their friends and whomever is looking for help.
There are, as part of the grant, we diligently track what's going on, and usually it's saying, well, this person was in search of this, and this is what we did, and this is the referral we gave. But also, people will come in and say, hey, I got my MAP card or whatever, and I'll jot that down. It's hard to measure the actual effect of the actual impact that this is having in full, because we could make a note, somebody came in and did this, but like I was saying, there's so many things that we don't know the end result. So in the example Cece gave, this guy went with some organization that does rehabilitation. We don't know if maybe he left an hour later. Maybe he got sober, he or she, I don't know who it was, maybe reunited with their family, maybe they got a job, maybe they, you really can't fully measure the impact that this has. But in extrapolating on the successes that we actually can see, we know that it's happening and having an impact on the lives of people in Austin.
Sometimes people will approach us and they just want to talk. And sometimes they'll say, you're the first person to smile at me today.
Yeah, there's a real human need. Sure. That's a big deal,
I think the most important thing to change the public perception in regards to what the library can do is just to be more inclusive. I think if we just embrace our customers and say that they are part of the community and make the library welcoming to everybody, that's the first step towards changing the public perception. And if we don't do that, we perpetuate the stigma of and marginalization of people that are homeless by treating them differently and by treating them as a problem instead of as people that have problems.
So when I came here to Terrazas, it was overwhelming to see how many homeless people were out here. And so I was like, oh gosh, they should find them like a camp or somewhere to live. And Andrew at that moment looked at me like, really? Like, and then, so as time went on, I understood what Andrew was trying to, it made me change my view on homeless, like to have more compassion and how to treat them and how to talk to them. And so that was really awesome experience for me because now I can understand that I need to have compassion for the homeless.
It is a little upsetting to hear that my library keeps me healthy is going away, just because I know that we have a lot of regulars, we have a lot of people who tell us all the time, thank you so much, this really helped. So I'd love to see something like this in the future continue. I'd love to have social workers in the library, social workers everywhere. You know, we definitely try to be the most welcoming and loving, and just we want everyone to be a part of something. And so I think having one in the library would be great. You know, I think a lot of people are disappointed that it's leaving, you know, and I think it also shows people that we see them and we want them to be heard and we want them to know that we're here for them. And it's definitely not always easy to be of service to people, but it's necessary and it's useful, and people love it. I don't want to say that, I don't want to speak for them, but I know that it makes them happy to see us. And, you know, big things like housing and food, the bare essentials of life, or a bus pass, which is, you know, it is public transportation, but it is a luxury too to be able to get on it. Or even just art of serenity, you know, like people come just to color. So there's big things and little things that we do, but it's always to better the lives of the library patrons and the community as a whole. So I would hope something like it continues.
The fact is we're all social beings, and you know, we need that socialization. So for somebody to come in and just have a conversation, and you know, how many times have you heard, you know, like you're saying, like, you're the first person to listen to me today. Like I just wanted somebody to listen. One person wasn't looking for a resource or anything. He just needed to share his story, you know, and that's a real need, just as important as, you know, somebody learning they need to deal with their hypertension. We all need to be heard, you know, so there are a lot of effects.
I would ask them, and I have asked, the police came in here one time because they had seen some people sleeping about half a block down from the front doors of the library near our parking lot. And they asked me if I wanted them to ask them to move. And I said, why would I want that? And somehow the police officer said, well, don't you think this is scaring people or something along those lines? And I just asked, why would that scare somebody? And his response was, I don't know, because he also presumably interacts with people that are homeless all the time, and he wasn't scared, but he was addressing the public perception of fear. I guess maybe I've just lived in some pretty rough places, including some neighborhoods that are very highly densely populated with people who are homeless. So I don't have that fear, but I think some of the research I've done indicates this as well, is that direct contact with any marginalized group of any, you know, minority, whatever it is the solution to addressing that fear and discomfort with any group of people that is not like you. So I think it's actually really important for the library to embrace including people that are homeless with people that are not homeless, so that there is that connection. And I had mentioned earlier there is a family that comes to this branch with their young kids deliberately so that they see people that are homeless. And I think that direct contact addresses the fear and makes people realize there isn't any reason to be afraid. You know, of course, I'm thinking of the FDR quote, the only thing to fear is fear itself. But I think that's at root of the issue of just the public perception of homelessness and being inclusive. I think that's what the library really can focus on, and by being inclusive and you know, making people that are homeless feel welcome in the library is the first step to changing the public perception. You know, if the library is a safe place for everyone, and there's people that are homeless here and everybody feels comfortable, then I think that's a great thing for people to interact with each other that way. And some of the programs we have offered have you know, tried to be a little interactive with people that are homeless and people that aren't.
It's all connected more, and I could speak to that philosophically and spiritually, that we're all connected. So people at the bottom end of the ladder of finances and those at the top, we're really all connected. And the people at the top who have the bars and the gated communities, they're afraid of the people in poverty, and vice versa. And so if we can sit down and work together and not fear each other, we're all going to be better off, because these people in poverty, they could be part of our workforce.
So it just put everything into perspective for me. You never know what a person's going through. You never know who they are. And, you know, it seemed like this guy's going through a lot, but he still gave me, like, his food and something so important to him. And, you know, I don't know how many people would do that. And it was life-changing. And I told my family and I told my friends about it. And, you know, I think it's important that people hear stories about this stuff, because they don't, one, they might not put themselves in that situation ever, but two, you know, it's really easy to just kind of stay in your beliefs and assume everything you know is true. And, you know, it meant a lot for me to tell my family that too, because it helped them understand why I do what I do. So
I don't know. I know back home, because I'm from West Texas, so the libraries down there, they have like nooks where you can just go and relax and read in a beanbag or something, and they don't have that stuff here. I think that'd be neat. So you could sit at the table, but sometimes you just want to relax and read a book, and can't get really relaxed at a table on a chair.
The fact that so many people say, I'm so glad you're doing this, and I'm glad this is here, and a lot of people wouldn't even think to do, you know, take maybe a step to better themselves, is those, oh, what's that, social services? What's that? And then we get to talking, and then, you know, we'll ask them some questions and discover that, you know, they need this and have a resource for that and do it. And this happens all the time throughout these health screenings. So there are a lot of people that are getting their help met. And, you know, for libraries to have somebody help with social services, because I know reference librarians get the circulation desks get asked all the time, you know. So yeah, there's 211, and that's a great, you know, city resource. But this program I've seen help a lot of people.
There are a lot of online universities that, you know, I was considering that as well. That's one of the reasons I want to take the computer class. I want to be a social worker. And in order to do this, I would want to take an online course. You know, I would like to see the possibility that if you set it up, it could be set up to where we could have computers reserved for that particular area. People, you know, not just many, just 4 or 5 for people that are taking online courses that you know are taking these courses, because they can't afford to miss. They can't afford to get behind. And not all of us have computer access or can go too many other places and get it. That would be something.
So I think sometimes it'd be easier if they would like join with the food stamp offices and stuff like that, so we could just come to the library and get it all done on the computer. It would be so much easier. And stuff like that, like resources. Sorry, resources like that, it makes it easier.
I really can't answer that because, you know, a lot of the thinking that I have is outside of the box. You know, when you go to Goodwill, they have their own TDC, Texas workforce. Why couldn't we set up a kiosk here a couple days a week? There are people that are underemployed that are on the street, people that are barely employed on the street, and there are those that they are just getting their documents together. And they're tied to this place for one reason or another, whether it's the proximity of some other place or case manager comes and meets them here or for whatever. So why can't we put something together to help while you have these people here? One of the things that I've noticed that since I've been back in Austin, the homeless are getting a lot younger. I know LifeWorks offers their programs, but if we could come up with something to put these kids back on the right path, then we can stop spending money on them and start spending money on other problems. I don't mean it that way, but housing, things of that nature for these children that are under 25, under 30 for the sake of argument. But it's difficult, you know, and we're losing a generation.
The other program we do at this location, Controversy and Conversation, it's a program where we screen documentaries on social topics and follow it with a discussion. So in August of last year, we screened a movie called Homestretch, which focuses on youth homelessness. And it's a partnership with the University of Texas Humanities Institute, and they assembled a nice luncheon event for the director who was in town that week, the director of the documentary. And we invited many organizations here in Austin that work with homelessness together. And what was really interesting and surprising to me is that all of the other organizations in Austin that work with homelessness do not know each other. They know of the organizations, but they don't really work with each other, and they had never met each other before. So the luncheon and the screening was the first time where a lot of these people seemed to come together for the first time. So that was really great to see all these people that work with this issue kind of be able to network together, and to host it at the library felt appropriate.
So definitely one of my favorite memories from this, probably one that I'll never forget. There was a man who came in one day, and he was an older gentleman, so he would just, I had to make a phone call for him, and he got pretty frustrated with me because nothing was working out. I couldn't get a hold of the other agency. He got into it with the manager at the restaurant, and he let him know, like, hey, I'm homeless. Is there any way you could just pay for my meal? And the manager was going to kick him out. And then someone, the owner from Mobile Loaves and Fishes, came up to him and bought him a meal. And so he was really excited about this meal. It was a really nice, like, breakfast. It had, I think it was like biscuits and gravy and fruit and just more stuff. It was a huge bag of food. And I was like, that's awesome, you know, like, that looks like a really great meal. That's so cool. And then I asked him about it. I said, oh, did you eat it yet? Like, you know, have you eaten any of it? And he was like, no, do you want some? And I, you know, obviously we can't accept gifts. Also, I would never take his food. Like, so I was like, no, like, you keep your food. Thank you so much, though. Like, that's awesome. And he went to the bathroom, and he came back, and he took out his fruit cup and just, like, gave it to me. And I was, like, oh my gosh, no, like I'm not taking this. Thank you so much though. But he left too, like he did it in a sneaky way, and so I had to bring it to him, and I was like, thank you so much, but I'm gonna let you keep this. And then I saw him later, and he opened up his meal, and that was the first thing he went to, was the fruit cup. And so it just made me kind of realize that, sorry. It just showed me that, you know, this is why you can't judge someone and assume you know everything about them, because I thought, you know, this person would jump. I thought this person would jump to eat the food, and, you know, I made this judgment, like, he's hungry, he's gonna eat it. But no, he offered it to me because he thought I was hungry. And that just showed me that, you know, sorry, I can't do this.
I think it's helpful to sit and just enjoy the company, the setting, because life is so busy, or we can be so involved, and there's so many things that come up in everyday life, health stuff or interactions with different people, and just having the time to sit and enjoy a movie.
We all need to recharge our batteries, and especially, I would imagine, for somebody living on the street, speaking with them, it's just a constant, ongoing, you know, got to watch their stuff, got to not, you know, get in a fight because of trouble, and, you know, the things are stolen, or the police are, you know, giving them a hard time, asking them to leave, and you can't sleep, and it's like, you know, so it's from what I'm gathering, it's just a constant stress. So, and again, we all need to recharge our batteries. So for somebody to come into the library, watch a movie, I mean, just a little reprieve, which, I mean, that's what, you know, it's what we all need. So, you know, Art of Serenity, go there and talk with other people and just kind of doodle and, you know, or whatever, or watch a movie or anything. The library offers so many important services. You know, it's not just information. It's really the scope of the library. I didn't realize this, just how big the scope is.
Well, there was this one guy that was homeless. His name was Anthony, and he would come in here every day. And one day he was on the computer, and I went to the computer to see how he was doing. And he goes, "Man, Patricia, I just want to tell you thank you. Like, ever since I've met you, you've been real, like, uplifting for me." He goes, I've got my life together. I got a job. I'm not going to be in the streets anymore. So that was, like, very rewarding for me, to just really realize that I was like a cheerleader for him, to, like, just kind of push him a little bit. And I didn't even realize I was doing that. So that story was really, really amazing to listen. It made me feel good and go home. I'm like, wow, I was there for someone, and they changed their life. So
get past the moral bankruptcy and actually be fiscally responsible, because it can be $17,000 to $35,000 a year per person to ticket them, police them, send them to court, jail, prison, ER visits with the ambulance rides, and hospital stays can be up to $35,000 per person, when to house them is $61 a day in Austin. And then have a caseworker looking over them to help them do those baby steps getting in. So theoretically, we could have less homeless people in the libraries that way, but maybe we'll get one of the shower trucks to pull up a couple times a week in the parking lot of the library, and people can also clean up. That might be a good opportunity. And then they'll blend in even more. That's what I've seen, is when people get housed. I visited my friend at Community First Village. I didn't even recognize him. I've known him from one of the edges of downtown, and he came up to my friend's canvas tent there, and he's rested. he doesn't look like he's in mental torment anymore.
Just the biggest thing I learned from that experience was, you know, everyone's a human being and everyone has love in their heart, and to, you know, deny someone of that is a huge disservice to them and to myself. That would, you know, I wouldn't have met this guy, I wouldn't have learned about his passion and his project, and I wouldn't have met this amazing human being who offered me the only food he had and the nicest meal he had probably in a while.
I think one telling sign of what the library means to someone that is homeless is when we're closed for the holidays. This year, Christmas falls on a Sunday, so the library is closed Friday through Monday. And I saw a customer that is homeless reading the sign, and she looked up at me and said, "You're closed for 4 days." And I could tell she was just heartbroken that we weren't going to be here for 4 days and she'd have nowhere to go for 4 days. And she looked so scared. And that's a common occurrence. Last year on Veterans Day, someone approached me and said, "Oh, you're closed on Veterans Day?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "Well, I'm a veteran and I have nowhere to go." So I think that speaks volumes to the value of the library.
If they were just closing, that wouldn't be good. That wouldn't be good. I thought that, you know, that's kind of like part of my constitution anyway. There shall be a library. So that would be bad. That would be very bad.
You know, honestly, I don't even know. I don't even know what it would be like. It would be weird because probably wouldn't have anywhere to go. I've never even thought about that. That's just, wow. It would be hard. It would be really hard. Oh, I've never thought about that. It'd be really hard.
Catastrophic. There are some people that go there, say for instance, if you're homeless, it's a sanctuary. If you're looking for information, it would be catastrophic. I can't explain it. I can't imagine something like that happening.
It would be very difficult because this was the first library that I found when I came to this town. And I know that there are others here, but this is kind of sort of comfortable. You know, I can put all the things that I need to do here. I have people around me, extended family members that I feel comfortable with, I feel, you know, safe with, and they feel safe with me. And, you know, we chop it up and we brainstorm and try to come up with different things. This is for me, it's a focal point in my day. Even if I only come here just to check my emails and be gone. Do out job interviews or whatever. Come in before they close, check the emails, charge a phone, go about my business. So yeah, it would be a whole, not only in my existence, but a lot of other people that are trying to move forward.
One thing I could say is, you know, I enjoy this. I enjoy all the libraries. I think Austin is doing a great job with the resources that they provide, how the libraries provide for the people that come in here. You know, it's not just a place for sitting back reading, whatever. You can get into some interactive stuff here, and it's a great thing and a great place to be.